Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, time has come. The Los Angeles Lakers have a playoff game this morning, 12 in the afternoon. So this afternoon, well, can't be afternoon if it's noon. So I guess it's at noon. And I'm telling you right now, we had better show up for this Memphis Grizzlies team. Obviously, this is a feel-out game. Game one, you don't expect a whole lot of really anything. Both teams haven't played in several days. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies haven't played in about a week. And last time we saw them, they threw their bench at the OKC Thunder, and the Thunder were able to get a victory there. A guy by the name of Vince Williams on the back of their bench went 1 for 14 from behind the arc. I do not suspect we're going to see him very much in this series. John Conchar went 1 for 5. I don't think we're going to see him too much either. But there are a bunch of dudes on this team, including Kenny Lofton Jr., that we're going to have to respect. He went for 42 points, 14 boards, I believe it was, with only two 3-point shots attempted. None of them hit. So he was doing all that with twos and layups and dunks and stuff. This is a big boy. Somebody that we're going to have to respect is going to be coming off the bench trying to fill in for where Brandon Clark is going to be missing. So we better respect that. And also, the other Williams is on this team as well. We need to respect this young fella. He was drafted several years ago in the lottery and has been kind of out of rotation here and there, but he did have a solid game in the last one where he dished off 8 assists and got over 20 points, I believe it was. So with him being healthy and kind of back being himself, that's a wing that's going to rebound the ball, catch lobs, hit threes, and as the series progresses, his piece is just going to get better and better and better. So you know me, I'm bench-centric this year because I really do believe that's what everything is going to ultimately come down to, is who can beat the deeper teams. It's likely teams that are deep as them. So I look at this Memphis team as a really deep team, but is unfortunately missing 2 pieces, so that takes away from their depth. But that doesn't mean that they don't have a full team of people that can come at you. I mentioned the people that I thought were struggling in the last game first because I don't think too many others are going to struggle at all. This is a very good team. And so, the head of the snake is John Morant. And even though he's been going through some stuff off the court, some behavioral stuff, some mental health type stuff off the court, it's caused him a lot of drama and a lot of, distractions for the team. I think they've had enough time between then and now to where they should be at least ready and focused for the playoffs. Now, there is still stuff going on in regards to Ja's name that isn't positive. There's a lot going on with his situation off the court. I do believe that we cannot afford to think that that's going to be something that's going to play into this series in any way. John Morant is a young player who's got natural ability, and I don't think he's going to struggle just because the circumstances are as they are. If anything, he's probably going to take them out on us. So we need to be aware that he's going to be fired up. He's healthy, which means he's going to be jumping out the gym every night, and he's very good at picking us apart with pick and roll offensive plays and things of that nature. In the second game that we played against them, I think he went for like some ridiculous amount of points, 39 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists or something like that. And had a third quarter that none of us will soon forget. This matchup entailed a situation where the Los Angeles Lakers turned the ball over 26 times to their 7, and they basically doubled our points in the paint. So this is a situation where I zero back in on that particular matchup, even though D'Lo and Bron were not a part of it, and they will be a part of tonight's game. I just think that that's a recipe for our failure. If we turn the ball over against Memphis, we will lose. And that's just really what it comes down to. We got to limit our turnovers, and we got to try to force some turnovers against them. Them going for 7, got to give them credit, but you got to look at us and say we got to do better than that. So I expect that we will. It's simply put, I expect that we will with those players being back. We're going to have our full team. Nobody's on the injury report. Thank God for that. Bamba's back. Bron is back. Everybody's here, ready to go. In Memphis, the game again at noon. And, I'm not a fan of noon games. You guys know that. I don't think our team particularly plays well in these matchups. However, it's the playoffs. It's an ABC game, and I don't think anybody wants to hear any excuses about not being ready or prepared, especially since this team has had so much time off since our play-in win against the Minnesota Timberwolves last week. In that game, we didn't particularly play well. In fact, I thought we played pretty poorly, and I think we've played pretty poorly for the last couple of weeks. but we've also taken our foot off the gas to some degree with players having to miss games, and we've had some shuffling in the lineup a little bit and stuff. So ultimately, I think guys were just kind of coasting, even though they shouldn't have been. Defensively, particularly, I thought we've played some of our worst defensive basketball leading up to this moment. So that's not encouraging to me. I think this team is potentially able to turn on the switch, so to speak, and play better defensively. But we do have some guys that have been slumping, and we have had some issues overall. But as of right now, we're considered one of, if not the best defensive team in the league. And I'd like to think that'll translate to what we see against the Memphis Grizzlies. Another player, of course, that we need to consider as a head of the snake on the Memphis Grizzlies is Jaren Jackson Jr., arguably the defensive player of the year, a much improved three-point shooter, somebody who's going to put up possibly 40 points at some point in this series. He's just turned into a really serious star player who must be respected on both sides of the floor. So, of course, we got one of those as well in Anthony Davis, who I think is one of the best players in the world when he has his mind intent on displaying that on both sides of the floor. Now, defensively, he's been phenomenal all year long, coming off yet another Player of the Month award. His defense has just been stellar, and his rebound has been overwhelming. In fact, he is the number one rebounder in the game to end the season, believe it or not, Anthony Davis. So people need to respect him on both sides of the floor in this series, and it's going to be upon Jaren Jackson to stay out of foul trouble in order for the Memphis Grizzlies to have any shot of that happening. Fortunately enough for us, that's something that Jaren doesn't do very well. He stays in foul trouble a lot of the time. Now, we can't count on that from game to game to game in this series. For all I know, he exercises those demons in this series and proves the world wrong and is able to stay on the floor without foul trouble. I think the Lakers should be absolutely and utterly prepared for that, particularly if the officials just simply do not want to officiate in a way that we appreciate. Now, we have been going to the line more than anybody else, and that's something that should carry over into the playoffs based on our play style if we limit our three-point shooting the way we have all season long, for which we didn't do in the last couple games of the season, which really concerned me. So if we're going to step outside of who we actually are going into these playoffs and start jacking up threes like the Atlanta Hawks did against the Celtics last night, we're going to find ourselves in a similar situation. So that's what I'm looking at here. We cannot lose sight of the fact that we are the 7th seed. They are the 2 seed. They have held firm in that 2 seed with them in Sacramento going, sharing it throughout the course of the season. And we've been in the bottom of the barrel throughout the course of the season. A lot of that had to do with our roster not being very good in the first half of the year. A lot of that had to do with us just not playing very good in the first half of the year and then carrying over some of those habits to the second half of the year where we dropped some games we had no business dropping. And that's been the story of our team, with the exception of making the trade and, of course, having these stars on the team just in general. We have really dropped some games throughout the year that were just inexplicable. Games we thought we would win down the stretch where we had big leads, situations where we didn't hit free throws or we fouled the wrong person down the closing stretch and gave them free throws, all kinds of different things that we did throughout the course of the year that showed us that we should not be cocky just because we have a very talented roster. We still have tendencies that are just tend to play against us, and we need to work those tendencies out right now or we're going to fall short of our goal. So this is something that I've been preaching all season long. We've talked about the different things that I want to see done in terms of the roster. We've seen some positive change in some of our rotations, but we've also seen some return to the negative things, and we just want to see our team overall just have a smart series and be prepared, be well prepared, be detail-oriented, pay attention to what needs to be taken care of, cover each other's backside, weak side situations, help, communicate, and all the various things that are necessary on the floor. I do want to see us play some sides in this series. Xavier Tillman is yet another player who's in this lineup who's getting better every day, very healthy, very capable, very physical, and he complements Jaren Jackson very well. With them missing Steven Adams, and also missing Brandon Clark, they're going to need him to step forward and play very, very big for them in order for them to have any success against our bigs. And then I look over at our bigs as well. I say one of the things that this Memphis Grizzly team is good for is giving up offensive rebounds. That is something I just read. Shout out to Laker Nation for doing a fantastic write-up on details. of what we need to do to try to defend this team is where I'm getting some of these nuggets from. Um, I do believe that this team is a team that we can use Wenyen Gabriel in, Mo Bamba in, Vanderbilt, obviously AD Bron and all of our bigs, Rui, and we can have some success against their bigs. Even though they have physical bigs, they have less of them. And sometimes they're going to have to go to Zaldana as one of their fours. Now, he's a really nice player who can stretch the floor. I expect him to have some really big moments in these playoffs against us. However, I do not think he is a viable big against who we have on the floor. He's going to have his struggles, particularly rebounding the ball and with physical stuff, in my opinion. Now, he can prove me wrong, and they can also do some things with their roster to kind of make it so that they don't have to lean on him. Maybe play David Roddy a bit more, increase Jaren Jackson and Tillman's minutes possibly. Obviously, they can go to Williams as well for some power forward play, and of course, Kenny Lofton will be on the floor. So they have options. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to go to Zaldana some, and when they do, I think that's when we try to go big. Maybe put Rui on the floor at that same time, try to take advantage of his size mismatches. We got to respect the perimeter defense. Of course, against this team, you're dealing with a player by the name of Luke Kennard, who can shoot the ball very well. LeBron informed us that this guy broke his scoring record in college, or in high school, rather. I believe it was. So we just got to respect this dude. He can shoot the ball very, very well. He's someone who can kind of dart around really, really quickly. It's going to wear you down if you don't put a rather agile person on him, or different looks on him for that matter. And he's shooting, like I said, above 40%, above 45% actually this season. And it's just only gotten better since being traded from the Clippers inexplicably. And so this is a situation where I respect that he's going to be one of their most important attacks, although it's going to be a little tricky trying to keep him on the floor with the other players that they also want to play at his position. So I'm looking at guys like Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder to try to offset what it is that those guards are going to be throwing at us. And of course, together as a collective unit, try our best to slow down Ja Morant. Luke Kennard, again, very important. He's going to have huge moments in this series. He can go for 30 and 35, maybe even more. So don't expect that he won't, if given the opportunity. Another guy we obviously have to respect from behind the arc is Desmond Bane. That's another one of the fantastic shooters in this league that just so happens to be on the same team as Luke Kennard. Very capable of dropping 4 and 5 threes from behind the arc every night. So that's one of those things where it's like, I know Desmond Bane didn't start the season. So some of what it is that they got going on with their record is skewed by the fact that some of the players that they didn't have are now in place. And some of the guys that were are now not. Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, of course. So this is a situation where I look at him and say, okay, he's only getting more conditioned as the season progresses. And as long as he doesn't have any setback with his health, we're going to have to start considering him a better player than what he's been considered all season long. I look at him like he was last year and the year before that when he first broke out. Arguably an all-star, definitely somebody who can knock down 30 points. I don't want us to look at him as somebody who's even though he's been playing like that. I just know better. He's a high-level talent who's likely going to only build his legacy in a series like this. So keep an eye on Desmond Bane. I know Buff Reggie Miller is going to be ready for us. And, of course, Dylan Brooks. Dealing bricks is what I call him, because every time I watch him play, he's shooting bricks all night long. For he's taken away from his team more so than he's given it. That's what I've seen. But he has had games where he's played well. And he's one of the best close-out perimeter defenders I've ever seen. I mean, this dude gets from the paint to the three-point line about as fast as anybody in the league. So we need to respect that he has that trait and use it against him. We got to draw fouls against this guy. We got to respect that this guy is going to hurt himself with his own energy 9 out of 10 times. It's just is what it is. He's a hothead. He is. And even though he's a talented player, he takes more from Memphis than he gives them most of the time. So we got to take advantage of his brick shots. We got to take advantage of whatever it is that he's going to do that's going to draw attention to himself by way of the referees. And we just need to use that inertia against him. As he's trying to get in your head, get in his. You know what I mean? That's really what it is. He's one of those type of people. And if you got that part under control, he going to spiral. And he going to take the Grizzlies with him. It's what I've seen. What he did last year with his missed shots, it's what he's done in regular season games. It's just what normally happens with the team. And until he works those demons out, he going to be the reason why things don't work out for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I stand by that. That's just what I've seen. Now, going forward, I don't know if that's what you're going to see because he's an inspired player with a lot of talent who can hit shots. As LeBron James told us, you can't disrespect him. He can hit shots. But at the end of the day, with them tendencies, I just think I'm seeing what is real to see there, which is a player that is very talented, but has yet to figure out how to help himself not bring bad attention to himself and his team as it pertains to how he acts on the court and ultimately some of the things he chooses to do out there. So he's their Achilles heel. If he's playing great, they probably don't lose. If he's doing what he's prone to do, he's going to cater to our success. So that's what I know. And I don't know that too many people are going to say that. When they talk about Dylan Brooks, they usually say, oh, great defender, hothead, da-da-da. But like what I'm saying is it's the brick shots and the shot selection that ultimately is the bane of their team. No pun intended at all. So that's really what I see there, man. We could take advantage of him. He going to try to get in our heads. We need to be ready for all that he does, both good and bad. And that's what I see there, man. What else? There's a whole team here that we're going to have to respect, and as we play more games with them, we'll start to see their units and kind of some of the things that they do. But, just off rip, since we've only seen them 3 times, and a lot of what we had was missing in those matchups, a lot of what they had were missing in other matchups there. So we just haven't seen the fullness of these two teams at all. We just haven't. The first time we saw them, we won the game by 1, but Russ Westbrook had a big to do with that game. Austin didn't even play in that game. It was that kind of thing. Speaking of Austin Reeves, in the other 2 matchups against the Memphis Grizzlies, he had 17 and 7, both games. So maybe that'll be a theme there for him to give us both 17 points and 7 assists throughout the course of the series. And if he does that, we'll be pretty good because that's exactly the type of production we need from him. However, he catered to the turnover woes quite a bit in that second matchup. 4 turnovers for him, 26 for the team. It just can't be the case. We got to respect that they have very good defenders that they can throw at a guy like Austin, and we need to be ready to take care of the basketball. Everybody, LeBron James, turnovers, it's just like we say about 3-point shooting. If you're going to miss a bunch of 3-point shots and that guy's going to miss a bunch of 3-point shots, it's just going to cater to the overall 3-point shooting woes of the team, and turnovers is what it is. We can't have acceptable turnovers. If Bron is just going to cough the ball up 6 times, AD's just going to cough the ball up 6 times, that means that nobody else pretty much can cough the ball up. We leave no room for error for everyone else in regards to our team as a turnover squad. We end up averaging just 15 turnovers just off rip, just because our stars can't take care of the basketball. So that's something that needs to be respected and studied, and we need to get better at just finding creative ways of keeping teams off of us so that we're not turning the ball over. And of course, limit the ones that you can control. Stop having the unforced one. Bron particularly, he has more unforced turnovers than most, and I know he's working his way back from injury and the foot and all that, but half the turnovers he had just him throwing the ball away. And so I want him to limit that, study that, and do whatever he needs to do to take care of the basketball in these playoffs. I think it will help our overall team since we have to live with other people turning the ball over. You know what I mean? Or accept the fact you're going to be a bad turnover team and start working on better transition defensive situations. We need to get better transition defense for sure. Even though everybody says we're the best defense, I'm telling you, our perimeter defense is suspect, our transition defense can be better. There are things we can do to make ourselves a better defensive team, and I think it's in our rotations and who we choose to put on the floor. So hopefully we can exercise those demons. I'm curious to see if we're going to use Shaq Harrison in this series. We just picked him up. He looks like a highly conditioned athlete, probably somebody you can give 6 fouls to against Ja Morant. Obviously, guarding him is a tall task for any team. But what we definitely don't want to do is put guys on him that we know he's going to cook. And that's exactly what we did in that third quarter of that second matchup. And then he did that. He cooked us, and we should be healthy in regards to respecting what it is that he does, which is pick apart just about everybody in front of him and jump over people and electrify his crowd with some of the best dunks they've ever seen. So that's exactly what I expect from him tonight and in game 2. He's going to do that. And so we're going to have to do what we need to do, particularly Anthony Davis and our bigs are going to have to try to meet him at the rim. You know what I mean? And if he posterizes us, this is what it is because that's the type of talent he is. But this is the playoffs, and I expect us to be physical. Now, here's something that's been on my mind. I watched a lot of course, the games yesterday, and I just saw bigs make this mistake a lot, so I figured I'd just throw this into the video. Nothing stands upright in the NBA. If you're gonna run down and put your body on somebody, they're gonna fall to the ground looking for a foul. It's just what it is. You gotta understand that nothing stands upright in the league. Everything tips over with the slightest touch, even no touch in certain situations. So we gotta make sure that when we come running down, we don't seal off on guys like it's 1999, because nobody's gonna stand upright, dude. They're gonna fall over. Straight up. Everybody's flopping. Everybody's looking to draw fouls. The best way to play defense in this league is to understand that people are flopping on every play, all over the place, and to keep yourself distance and don't touch anybody. If don't touch anyone unnecessarily, is what I would tell you. If you have to be body up on somebody, understand that the chance of them flopping is 50-50. 50-50, especially if they can't defend. If they can't defend, all they're doing is jumping off of you like or a grenade or something that exploded at their feet. That's all they're going to do. And so I just want to put that out there for all the NBA athletes. Obviously, you should know that, but I see that mistake being made in these playoffs every game. Bigs just running down, sealing off on guys, expecting them to stand upright. Nah, bro. That's a bowling pin. He's going to tip right over. He's going to tip right over and act like he's been hit in the face with something hard. So you got to understand that in these playoffs, if a dude can't defend, he's going to flop. It's the only way to play. So that's what I understand, man. The referees will have a lot to do with this. Obviously, we want to make sure that we have things go in our favor. So let's not jar at them. We already get more free throws than everybody else, so the league hates us anyway. Let's not jar at them. If they miss a call, give them a pass. Pick and choose your battles with the refs. I think it'll go a long way in our pursuit of the championship. A very long way. I think we have a very talented team. It's overwhelming how many options I actually see in regards to what we could do with our team, with so many different switchable pieces and players that can play in different positions and different things you could do, especially if you want to move certain players to the 1 or move certain players to the 2, then you have so many more options with the 3, 4, and 5. So I don't think we experiment enough. I think we're kind of catering to featuring certain players for reasons that don't really add up to the strategy of what it is that's best for the team a lot of times. And if we do that against the Memphis Grizzlies, we'll probably be out of here in 6 games. Some of the things that we're prone to do, to lean on guys for minutes just because they make a certain amount of money, or lean on guys to shoot a lot just because they make a lot of money, that doesn't really translate to what is best for this roster based on how it's constructed. We're going to have to give Anthony Davis more looks than we're prone to give him, quicker looks that get him the ball in positions to not be trapped so easily. He gets double teamed very easily. I suspect that they're going to do a lot of that. So we can't have him turning the ball over on double team situations, as we talked about a lot. Turnovers are so important against this Memphis team. So we definitely do want to respect that. What we're choosing to do with Anthony Davis will determine how much we can expect turnovers will come from him. So quicker moves to the basket, lobs and stuff like that will limit that, I think. But giving him the ball in the corner, letting him catch it in slow positioning, letting the defense come to him. He's not passing out of those things as well as we like, and sometimes it just leans to things not really being flowing very well for us. So we just got to figure out some of these actions that make sense. Dennis Schroeder driving at the rim is important, continuing to give us good play, but he can't be taken from us efficiency-wise. I need him to be more efficient shooting the ball. Obviously, he came off the big three-point shot against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a heroic moment, even though it was kind of erased by Anthony Davis's unnecessarily foul against, I think that was Mike Conley in the corner there with expiring time to go. But nevertheless, that big shot will not be forgotten, DS, and we want you to continue to shoot the ball with confidence and try your very best not to give us no 3 for 13 nights. Try your very best. We want to limit our inefficiency, limit our turnovers, and limit the openings that we allow the Memphis Grizzlies to attack us defensively. And you know where I'm going with that. We just got to make sure we use Malik Beasley wisely and use the other size length that we have more interchangeably so that we can have parity amongst our size throughout the entire series. I know that they got Kennard, they got Bane, obviously Ja can get hot. All of these different players can hit shots. Williams can hit threes. We need to respect their three, but that doesn't mean that we need to match their three by making it so that Malik Beasley and Bron James are shooting 13 threes apiece. That is not a good attack. You're going to get beat that way. We need to continue to drive at the rim and choose our threes wisely like a jab just to give us the space we need, just like we've been doing all season. Beat teams at the line. Don't get lazy. I know we're tired. It's the end of the season. But the way that we got this far is the way that we're going to get further. And we are not Golden State. We are not none of these shooting teams, man. We are the Lakers, and we get to the line. So if we're going to do anything in these playoffs, it's going to be attacking people in the paint and making sure that we respect interior defense and not allow teams to destroy us by leaving too little size on the floor defensively. If you punt the defensive side of the ball, Darvin, you're going to lose, fam. I can't stress this enough. You're a defensive team. Do not put offensive units on the floor and punt defense for any reason, bro. I'm telling you, your best offense is defense to offense. Turning turnovers into transition buckets and turning turnovers into quality possessions. It's the only way we really actually dominate. And we have the talent to do that. But if we keep on going for it, let's have Dennis shoot a bunch of threes, let's have D'Lo shoot a bunch of threes and no other offense, you're going to lose and we're going to be angry. That's it. So these are things that need to be said, man. I seen him go to offensive lineups entirely too much when defense was what was needed. And we got smoked every time. So that's something that I'm going to be very irritated with if we see any of that in this series. We're not an offensive team. Don't put no damn offensive lineups on the floor unless they can play defense too. And we have the units to do that. Hell, we got Anthony Davis on our team. You should never have an offensive lineup that can't play defense. So these are things that are irritating me before the game, man, because we've been watching this stuff for 83 games at this point. And we always make these games closer than they have to be. We always find ourselves down in games against teams we had no business being down against. And against a real team like Memphis, of whom we haven't seen a real team in a very long time. Let's just be real. We ain't seen a full basketball team in over 3 weeks. I expect they're going to hit us in the mouth harder than we would necessarily want to be hit in this game, to be honest with you. Just because they've had so much rest, even though that could make them a little rusty, I guess you could say. They could be, but a young team, I think the likelihood is they're going to be fresh. We need to respect that they're going to do things to hurt themselves at times. They're going to give up, like I said, offensive rebounds is something that they're one of the middle of the pack teams. They're going to allow us to get second chance points, especially without their offensive rebounders down there in Adams and Clark. So Tillman is a nice player defensively. He's going to get his stops, but he's not necessarily someone they're going to count on to have a double-double every night and go crazy. So we need to be able to take advantage of what it is that we can take from him. They're a little undermanned out there. Kenny Lofton is going to be a high-level player, David Roddy, but these guys are rookies. So we're going to have to take advantage of them, even though they're high-level rookies. Also, if I ain't mentioned Jones already, foolish me. If we're talking about anything in regards to this team, it's Jones, the point guard, the backup point guard for Ja, who always steps in and plays great on both sides of the floor. He's been a little inefficient as of late, but we can't count on that. That is a very, very high-level player in a lesser role. Just like I was telling you guys about Davion Mitchell in Sacramento, that's kind of how I look at Jones over here in Memphis. He's just a very, very high-level player in a different way than Davion, but you're talking about a player who can come off your bench and give you starters production. And so I value what he does very much for their team, and if we don't respect him by coming at him with real defense, he's going to pick us apart just like any other really good point guard would. So they have a dangerous set of guards. It's never going to be a break for either team in regards to the guard's position. No team gets a break. You coming in with Jones, and Morant, Kennard, and Brooks, and Bain. We're coming in with, obviously, D'Lo, Schroeder, Bron, Austin, Lonnie if we choose to use him. It's so many different players that we have as well that's going to throw them off in regards to the guard position. So, Troy, if he's playing well, these are players that I think can do great things in this series if deployed properly for the LA Lakers. So it's a battle with the guard matchup. I didn't mention Beasley, but of course we're going to use him. Hopefully he's shooting well and is a part of that rather than taking from it. But I just hope that our coach uses him properly and only calls on him when he absolutely needs him, and put somebody else in that second unit that's a bit more lengthy, it's a bit more stable for what it is that we're doing, that gives up less in that second unit so that we can give up less leads like we often tend to do. So that's really what it is, man. I just want to see so bad. I just want to see a decent rotation game. I want the basketball gods to be kind to us as well. Let the ball fall. This is the playoffs. We haven't been to playoffs in 2 years. That kind of thing. I really want to win this series real bad as a fan. I don't want to go home early. and so on and so forth. So that's just my cry out to the Lakers to play well and do smart things against the Memphis Grizzlies, who's coming at them full force. Um, they're not fully healthy, but they're fully healthy for what it is they were expecting to be. Nobody that they thought they were going to have is going to be missing. So we need to just understand that and just go forward and take advantage of what we can. A lot of people have us losing this series by a slight margin. We are not favored by Vegas. I don't really read too much into that because it's close. At the end of the day, it's very close. And I think it's a game at a time thing. You take every possession seriously. You take every board seriously. You take every defensive possession seriously. And you just let the chips fall where they may. Like I said, they have home court advantage. So if we can come in here and get that from them, I think it can go a long way in us beating this team. I also think us winning these first two games is very important because as the games close out, they become closer and closer together. So we ain't going to get as much rest after game 3. So hopefully we'll have a lead in the series at that time and not having to play so many close games back to back with our lives on the line. This is what I'm thinking about. At the end of the day, the Memphis Grizzlies are a very talented bunch, but they can only put 2 guards on the floor at once, and that's where they need to be. They need like 5 guards on the floor at once to showcase all of what their real talent is. Couple that with Jaren Jackson playing so well. So it's kind of tough to keep the right people on the floor at the right time, and each one of those players have things that they do that we should be able to take advantage of. John Moran is not a particularly great defender, so drawing fouls against him should not be the hardest thing in the world. We got to attack him, try to get him sealed out on players like Rui Hachimura. I would love to see us seal Ja out on Rui Hachimura and let Rui just lay the ball up over him and watch Ja foul him. If we can seal out those opportunities to get Rui in positions to play against players that are smaller than him, he's going to convert on them a good portion of the time. It's just what I know, man. He's a very talented player. He's burly, and guarding him is a nightmare with his mid-range ability. So we gotta try to get the most out of him. And I'm not opposed to putting him in certain units that feature him more. He's just one of those guys that is showing himself to be worthy with this team on both sides of the floor. And if we put him in units that make sense, he's gonna be one of our best players. He's already proven that. So we need to trust him in these playoffs and unleash the Rui on the Memphis Grizzlies. Just like they're going to do to us with Lofton, we need to do with them with Rui. Honestly. And so that's what I want to see there. I think this is a big Austin Reeves series. I really do. He had, like I said, the turnovers in the game, 17-7, but he's a better player than that. He's had a look at some of these guys. They're going to attack him. They're going to try to get the ball out of his hands. But if he plays to his ability and gives us a huge game like he's capable of giving us, we can walk out of here with a win tonight. There are going to be certain things that the Memphis Grizzlies do as adjustments as the series progresses. They're going to give us certain things. They're going to take certain things, etc. I think their focus could be a multitude of things. Maybe stopping Bron. Maybe stopping AD. Maybe they want to let those two be them and let others not. I don't know what their approach will be. But one thing's for sure, we need to react to what they're doing and have in-game adjustments in mind. Whatever it is they take away, we need to try to make sure that we take something else from them or what have you. Put ourselves in a position to have whatever advantages we can give ourselves. And with our roster being healthy and as versatile as it is, I don't believe that we have many excuses for not being able to answer whatever it is that Memphis is throwing at us. If we can't figure out what it is that Memphis is throwing at us, that's a different thing. But for what it is that they have, we should be able to counter. That's just what it is. So Anthony Davis needs to be the best player in the series. Obviously, LeBron James is the important piece in the series as well, given the fact that they really don't have anybody down there who can guard him at all. At least Jaren Jackson is somebody they can throw at Anthony Davis, and if he stays out of foul trouble, maybe they have some success. But LeBron James is probably going to be checked by Dillon Brooks, and Dillon Brooks is just not a heavy enough player, in my opinion, to have any success against Bron. He's going to try to get up under him. He's a very talented and skilled defender, very quick, but he's not strong enough. And it's going to prove to be something that LeBron James is able to take advantage of if his foot and his health will allow him to do it. So we're going to have to use Bron the right way. Don't overplay him too soon. Don't let him get beat up too much in these first couple of games, because if that's the case, we're going to have a hard time winning this series. And so, managing limited basketball, not playing overtime games, which correlates to what happens leading up to that, hitting free throws. boxing out, all the various different things that need to be respected throughout the course of the game, so that we don't find ourselves in the overtime situations, so that we don't find ourselves in close basketball games where we got to figure out how to close those games when we know that's not a strength of ours. So let's get some big leads and let's keep them. And I think the best way to do that is to not leave holes in your defense to be attacked, Darvin Ham. So that's really what I got to say, man. I've watched highlights on the Memphis Grizzlies ad nauseum, but I don't think that any of those highlights really told me a whole lot because they've been missing pieces so much over the last couple of the weeks, given the fact that they were taking their foot off the gas with things locked up and such. So I will say this, though. They give up a lot of three-point shots in some of these matchups. Not every matchup, but they tend to have these games where they let a team shoot 45% from behind the arc with like 23s or 23 threes hit. Like, they are a team you can shoot against at times. Now, they do have great closeout defenders, and they tend to play really good overall defense just like we do. But just like we do, tend to give up the three. So I don't know if that's going to coerce us into wanting shooting more of them. But it's definitely something that I've noticed over the last couple of weeks. The teams have really been able to get them. So that's something I'm paying attention to. They had a game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Like I said, Milwaukee was missing a bunch of their players. They were able to win that game on the road. Like OKC matchup where Roddy went for 42 and 14, as I already mentioned. They had a game against the Portland Trail Blazers. I honestly don't think I saw highlights of that game. But, from what I understand, they played pretty well in that matchup. I don't remember. I'm not going to lie about that one. The Chicago Bulls, they had a matchup against them. It was very well put together, but ultimately it was the Bulls shot them down. The Bulls came in and just played good defense on their home court and pushed Memphis up out of there. It wasn't even close. And that was really impressive for the Bulls, but most importantly, it was eye-opening for the Memphis Grizzlies, and they showed me some things that we could do to kind of attack them. So I think as the series progresses, that would be a game I would harken back for our scouts to really pay attention to, because the Bulls were doing some things that worked. What else, man? They've had some games against the Clippers, a back-to-back against the Clippers. We studied that when we were watching the Clippers as a matchup was approaching with them a couple weeks ago. And, they split those back-to-back. The first game, Russell Westbrook went nuts. If people remember that infamous picture where Russell was on the floor screaming up at the sky, that was that game where they dropped that game against him. And I think Luke Kennard had like 10 threes on him or something. He shot a lot of threes in that game, I think, or something like that. But they still lost the game. I think that's how they went. I don't remember. But they had those two games against the Clippers back-to-back, and they split those. They had a game against the Pelicans as well, where Trigger Murphy was really shooting shots in the overtime that they had there to shoot them down. And just a noteworthy thing that has nothing to do with nothing, I really like the powder blue on the OKC floor. Memphis's color scheme against OKC was phenomenal. I loved how that looked. Watching those highlights were a pleasure. And watching Memphis get the loss there did also give me some things to take a look at in regards to studying that matchup and what worked for them. Three-point shooting was the story against the New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans just lit them up. Something terrible, man. Trigger Murphy, Jones. They let Jones look like he was Rashard Lewis or something out there. He had like 6 threes in career night, I think. B.I. also was hitting a bunch of threes. It was just a three-point barrage. So, again, Memphis has been having these games where they just give up a bunch of threes in high percentage. So, if we're hot from behind the arc, there's a good chance we'll beat them. But we can't fall in love with the three just the same. We cannot. If it's falling, it's falling. If it's not, it's not. But there are ways to attack this team, and we should be able to know what they are. So that's what it is, man. Feel out game tonight. Noon today. Afternoon, noon moments tend to go a little weird. The referees are thrown off. The players are thrown off. So you can expect some wacky stuff with these two teams having not played in a week. I don't expect continuity to be too good in the first half. Playoff jitters in the first half. I expect it to be kind of ugly to start the game, to be honest with you. Maybe the whole game might be ugly. But as the series progresses, those two teams will settle into their adjustments and various things. And I think we'll get a heck of a series out of this. Well, hopefully the Lakers will win in 6, which is what my prediction will be. I'm not overly confident. I've also been on this camera saying I think the Lakers will go out in the first round before I knew who we were going to be matched up with, just because of how stupid we looked in those moments in those games. And we did look very stupid. So that's what concerns me. Will our IQ match our talent level in these playoffs and help us reach our peak, or will we just fizzle out as a team that has imbalanced chemistry to a degree and has shown the ability to roll over at times, just completely roll over. And so those are traits that scare me in these playoffs, and I'm just very balanced in regards to how good and how bad we can be. You know what I mean? It balances itself out. For every great thing that the Lakers have done, has also done something to make you say, I cannot stand watching this team. And so that's why your record is 500. That's exactly why you're only 4 games above 500. That's why you're the 7th seed, because we were not stellar all year. We did a lot of things wrong. We disrespected the basketball gods a lot of the time, particularly guarding 3-point shooters and disrespecting them, leaving them too much room. There's just certain things that this team needs to do better, and it starts tonight in the playoffs. And that's it. You know, one thing that I want to say is I'm not afraid of Anthony Davis shooting the 3-ball in these playoffs. I don't want him to overshoot it, but for as many threes as we allow other people to shoot, I don't think Anthony attempts enough 3-point shots. I don't think he attempts enough. For his form and his ability to hit shots, his percentages have always been down, but it's because we have him shoot like 1 every 4 games since he's basically been a Laker. We need to work more plays into him shooting threes. I saw him hit that corner 3 about 7 to 8 times in a row in practice yesterday in Memphis. So his 3-point shot is something that he's working on, and we need to not shy away from allowing a good formed shooter to attempt more threes, because he has good form. So that's something I want to say. I ain't saying he's a 3-point shooter. I ain't saying he's going to turn the Dirk or nothing like that. I'm just saying that attack is there. He doesn't need to be just looking to hand off the ball at the top of the 3-point line when there's someone playing off him 15 feet. He needs to look to be a threat in that situation, shooting the ball, and I'm confident he'll knock down that shot. So these are things I've been thinking about, man. I want to see Mo Bamba. There's no reason to be putting Wenyen Gabriel and Jaren Jackson. We don't have no reason to do that. There's a lot of production Mo Bamba can give us, rebound the ball both offensively and defensively. He can block shots. He can shoot jumpers. He's a problem, and he's a big problem if we don't use him. So that's what I want to say, man. We got to be intelligent about someone like that. He is a 7'1" player with longer arms than all of the league. And when he's played well for the Orlando Magic, he was deserving of starters minutes. So we can't come to the Los Angeles Lakers having us need a center and not play him as if we haven't seen him play well in Orlando. This is unacceptable, Darvin. If you can't use a 7-foot center who can shoot threes, there's something wrong with you, bro. Something seriously wrong there. So I want to see us use this player more, obviously. And I think he'll complement Rui Hachimura a lot, since we like to put Rui at the 4. He'll really help Rui in those situations. So I just think we're foregoing opportunities to do things that work. Vanderbilt and Wenyen and Gabriel should be on the floor more together since they played in college together. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that we're just not doing because Darvin's just doing whatever he's doing, and it's leaving us in situations where the score is close and we're always fighting and we barely win, and it's always some heart attack nonsense that didn't even have to happen because we could have did a lot of things leading up to that point that just gave us more of an advantage. So can we do those things, please, man? I complain about this twice a day. It's playoff time. I don't want to be angry every night at the end of the playoff games because we did stupid crap, just like I was angry most nights at the end of basketball games throughout the regular season. That's where I'm at, man. I'm just tired of being angry at this team, and I want to see smart basketball from players that I know are intelligent. So that's really what I got to say, man. I'm excited about us being in the playoffs, but I'm poised to be frustrated at Darvin, and I just don't really want that to be the case. So I hope he gives us a great look tonight with good rotations, and I hope our players are able to step up and be the reason we either win or lose. Let the players be the reason we either win or lose. Let it not be our coaching schemes and the coaching staff. Let it not be those officials and all that nonsense. Let it be the players that determine what happens in the NBA. That's what I want to see, man. So that's what I got, man. Ready for this game at noon. Of course, there will be continued homework done on this team as the series progresses, which is why I'm not getting too much into more of what it is that I saw in those highlights, because I can go back and watch them again just the same to study this team even more so since it's the playoffs. So that's what we need to do. Be intent on staying detail-oriented and staying positive, much more positive than I usually am. So that's what I got to say, man. This game is on the road. We know what the atmosphere in Memphis is going to be. They're going to be loud. They're going to be boisterous. They're going to be doing the gritty. They're going to be trying to, get on social media and talk crap at the end of the game. All that is going to happen. It's just part of the culture there. So our responsibility as the greater franchise is to silence that culture. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching.